All right, everybody, welcome back to Important Aim. I'm Important Aim. I'm actually super excited. This is one of my favorite firearms, the CZ P10-F. Superb job, CZ, with giving us, you know, a solid box here. But I have to fight with the box to open it every single time. We're not really going to do an unboxing because, again, I've had this gun for a while. I probably don't even know where everything that came in this is. First things first, let's clear this out. All right. All right. You see it, I see it, and we're clear. You get your back straps, holds 19 plus 1. Nothing else fancy inside the box. I'll be honest with you, nothing else fancy inside the box, but it makes up for it in performance. Of course, we got the instruction manual, and I'll tell you, I got a niece coming in April. First niece. I mean, I don't have any nephews either, but that's my first niece. So I actually like this instruction manual so much. I'm going to read this to her. This is going to kind of be her first bedtime story. All right, CZ P10-F. This Olight doesn't live here. I only put one on there because I also had the Canik Mente out today and it had a flashlight on the front, so I just wanted to put a flashlight on it. Anyway, wow. As I said, 19 plus 1. I don't know what you know about these things. This is a CZ that's striker fired, okay? So you got your polymer, and then you've got your, you know, steel slide. Nitride finish. I bought this because I wanted to get into CZ. This is my first CZ. Actually, maybe the Scorpion was my first CZ, but it's my first handgun of this style. So I wanted to get into it, and I actually think this is a good looking handgun, even though it's very unassuming in the beginning. The first thing you'll notice, at least I did, when you hold this, oh my God. Now everybody talks about ergonomics, and you know, for different people, that's going to mean different things. I'll tell you what I go through when I hold this. This is a thinner grip than most striker fire guns this way. Now I don't have the exact measurements. I could get them here, but to compare it to something else is what you need. But it is thinner, okay? It's thinner than most guns this size, in my opinion, especially the ones they're making nowadays. And striker fire, especially in the beginning, inherently they were a little blocky. They're getting a lot better. We all know that. Now, of course, you got different back straps that come with it, and you can customize it. This may be too thin for some. For me, it's just right. Talk about the stippling. You guys know I love that. And we guess what's on it? Dots, man. This stippling is actually very aggressive, okay? Not gonna rub your skin off aggressive, but me just shooting with a lot of different people, taking a lot of different people shooting, I know that this will be considered aggressive for some people. They may not like this being this rough. I absolutely adore it. Only in these areas in between do you not have that stippling, but you pretty much have it all the way around. In their home markets, these magazine releases used to be kind of stiff at first, put some rounds through it and they broke in nicely. They changed it. I don't think they're reversible originally. This one is reversible, and this one's just fine straight out of the box. Very in line with the grip. It's right where it needs to be for me, at least. If you like those kind of extended magazine releases, I know a lot of people do. Maybe you'll opt to change it. I think it's just fine for me. All right. This is one of my favorite things on this firearm. Look how they were able to keep this profile so slim. Okay. Look at that. You don't have a bunch of crap sticking off of it. Very slim profile, which to me just adds obviously to the look of this gun. But when I start to look at applications for this gun, I mean, this is absolutely a defensive handgun. If you don't mind carrying something this size, well, guess what? Bonus. It's slim. We don't have a lot of snag points. That's great. Got a nice little undercut here. We'll go back up here. I mean, this is where you'll really notice the difference. We got a nice little beaver tail here. You can really get into that. My first experience shooting this gun, and I'll never forget it. I was telling a friend of mine who was there in the lane beside me that is pointing naturally. Kind of cautious when I hear a lot of people say a lot of guns point naturally, because at least for me, they don't. Most don't. So when I have one, it even felt unnatural at first. It doesn't hold like anything else I have. For some reason with this gun, you'll tend to maybe want to have it a little higher than necessary, but it's going to put that front sight where it right needs to be. And then you'll see that it's a pretty natural pointer. Once you release that trigger 1 or 2 times, you'll say, okay, yeah, it's kind of put me where it wants me to be. Let's move on to the trigger. You know what we got to do. Now, they advertise out of the box 4.5 pounds once it's broken in. It says, you know, their trigger was designed to eliminate a lot of that creep, or the cringe as I call it, but, you know, no stacking and all that kind of stuff. That's at the wall. That's knocking on the door. It's at the wall, knocking on the door. Knock. Boom! Let me in there. All right. So, let's pull the trigger. 6 flat and 6.9. So, it's coming up around 6.9. Well, this is pulled again. We can't have that. We refuse to say that the trigger pull on one of my favorite guns is a snitch. 512. All right. So in the 5 somewhere there, they advertise 4.9 once it breaks in. I probably have at least 400 rounds through this. So maybe a little bit more rounds it'll loosen in. It feels in application a lot less than that. The one thing I do want to say about this trigger, there's safety sometimes. I find myself for some reason getting caught kind of, and it doesn't stop you from using it. It still moves. I mean, it's not a lot of resistance, but the safety just almost feels like I hit a point where maybe I'm grinding against a wall or something, but it happens rarely. And it's never stopped it from functioning, anything like that. It could be my imagination. I almost hesitate to bring it up, but that's just something there. Would I change the trigger on this for defensive carry? No. If I really just wanted to make this a nail driver, then yeah, I would probably change the trigger. It's fantastic out of the box. In fact, one of my homeboys shot it today, and that's what he was saying. He's getting set up, getting a feel for it. He was like, man, that trigger is great. So, and you'll find that. So that's when I say, you know, sometimes, hey, look, in application or in use, that trigger feels a lot better. It does happen. So again, I do like this thin profile. You see, you got your serrations at the front here and at the rear. The barrel here, obviously, this is an aftermarket barrel. Killer Innovations barrel. Very, very, very nice barrel. Now, they make a performance version of this, which I actually wanted initially. They didn't have it in stock. Waited a couple months. I got impatient and went ahead and bought this version performance. The only thing I know about it that's different is their barrel and the trigger. I don't really know what barrel they're using, if it's a CZ barrel or if they sourced that out for a collab with somebody else, but it was gold accented as well. So we got the Killer Innovations barrel. It was not a cheap barrel, $289. I will say it is a very nice look. You got fluted there. I mean, it's a nice looking barrel, match grade, obviously. The one thing they say about this, and I'm not going to try to get too far into the weeds with this because I don't really know too much about it. Your barrels are cut different ways as far as the rifling is concerned. You got a button cut. You got a standard cut. They call this SPT, which is just a single point, cut. So it's supposed to be, you know, all the rifling cuts are, way more uniform as far as their size is concerned, et cetera, et cetera. They should be pretty much identical. It's supposed to lend itself to better accuracy down the field. What's that? You don't know anything about that? Get back to the normal stuff? Okay. I'll put a 507K up here. Eventually, I will be doing some reviews on the Holosun's 407, 507. It's the 507K X2. I did not cut it on, not one time today. Sights, I love them. These are not suppressor height sights, obviously, but they are good. So we've got the blacked out rear, and you got your, little tritium insert in there. Let's talk about shooting, man. Again, with the factory barrel in this thing, and that's how I shot it for most of the rounds up until today. And we didn't really put too many rounds through it because I have a lot of experience, at least enough experience with this one to pretty much know how it shoots. You'll notice about this. Obviously, it's a full size 9mm, so it's not going to have crazy recoil. But the recoil is not smooth. Let's use the Canic that we just did, Elite Combat Executive. I call that a Cadillac. Really smooth. This recoil doesn't have more recoil, but it is a sharper recoil. Okay? It's a sharper recoil, and it actually feels like a little quicker recoil. Okay? And we're just shooting, I'm talking standard barrel, shooting 115 grain out of it. In other words, you know, you're not going to go flying because of it. You're just going to say, you know, if the Canic is shooting stout, I mean, not stout, but just smooth. This was going to be, you know, it's just a jerk, just a sharper recoil, okay? Just a sharper recoil. It doesn't mean that you're getting off target any more or any less. The way this sits in hand, at least for me, it is a really natural pointer. And so the accuracy on this thing is impeccable. Every time I squeeze the trigger, you know, I'm surprised that this, you know, is just really going where I want it to. CZ P10-F, one of my absolute favorite guns to shoot. 507K, it's not on, not sighted in, I'm not using it. I love this gun. 5 easy to hit. Put the ball back in the middle. You can see how fast you want to shoot it. I love it. And this was literally the first shots of the day. I'm just warming up. Wanted to hit, you know, one in the red, one in the yellow. I'm just warming up. That's why we don't have the shoot and see on there. But that's the CZ with factory barrel. I'm shooting fast for me. I don't know. I might have been at 8 yards, and I'm just throwing it. But I love it. I mean, I'm just gonna show you, man. I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, and look, I know it's just one shot, but I'm gonna show you guys. This is extremely accurate, extremely fun to shoot. It's gonna make you feel like you're a better marksman or markswoman than you are. Oh, you didn't get all that shooting. Look how foggy my shades are. I mean, my glasses are. I know the camera failed, but I mean, look, very accurate, very accurate. Before we get it too hot to handle, let's just switch over and see what the Innovations threaded barrel will do. We're gonna throw the suppressor on there, Octane 9, same one I always do, and see how it does. Quick look at the Innovations barrel. I do want to shoot some of this 975, the stuff that does cycle for you guys. This CZ is probably, I say this about a lot of guys, it's top 5 for me shooting. You think they're doing that on purpose? What you think? All right, let's shoot some of this 975. No problem. See, I wasn't too worried about accuracy when we threw on the suppressor because it doesn't have suppressor height sights, and I'm kind of just, I mean, of course, yeah, I do have my red dot on there. Could have turned it on and sighted it in, absolutely. But that's going to be a whole experience we'll go through together, okay? Okay. So we threw on the suppressor, and it ran that 975 feet per second stuff just fine. It did not at all like that 850 feet per second stuff. So big shout out to Drew at Pro Shots, who had a great theory on why it was happening. You know, at first I was thinking, oh man, is it my guy rod? Should I do, you know, that blah, blah, blah. We got my guy, Drew here at Pro Shots, and we had some issues with the CZ P10-F only shooting these 150 8-grain bullet stuff. So that's the 850 feet per second. That's the stuff you guys know I like to shoot to see if it can handle that really light load stuff. This one, 975, cycles flawlessly. We'll talk more about it when we get home. But Drew, you give us your explanation on why this does not cycle, and maybe I'll show you guys.
So my theory is that in order to make a bullet heavier in the same caliber, it's got to get longer, right? But at a certain point, the bullet can't get any longer, otherwise it doesn't fit in magazines, it won't chamber into guns, so the nose starts flattening out so I can get more length up to the side. Those 158s are heavier than any I've seen in any kind of regular ammunition, so that taper starts later. When you load that round into the chamber, it's getting pushed in so hard that that taper is actually grabbing onto your lands and grooves for your rifling. So shooting, no problem. Explosion sends the bullet out the front, brass comes out, no problem. But when you try to rack it out, it's hard to pull that rack out of those lands and grooves without the ramrod or something like that to pull it out of there.
Let's see if we can really quickly get an idea of what he's talking about when he's talking about these tapers. So it's a good teaching moment. And what Drew's talking about is this longer, flat nose bullet is the one that's giving us problems. As you can see, that taper starts much later than on that 975 feet per second stuff. So that's what we're talking about. I'll give you a quick look at how it gets stuck and what we're talking about, and you'll see when we load it into the firearm. First of all, it normally doesn't go all the way in the battery, and it did there. But when we try to rack it out, that's stuck. That's stuck. Okay? Now, of course, just like he said, we can shoot this, and it'll probably eject, no problem. You get a lot back, no big deal. Once you add an explosion, it's much easier. But so now we know, and this is why you come, this is why you train, this is why you test your ammunition. Not so much important for this, because I probably won't have any of this in some kind of defensive situation. But if you got your hollow point, some kind of ammo you think you like, make sure it cycles in your gun. It's just something about the size of that bullet. Obviously, that's a heavier bullet because you want it to go slower. So when I'm talking 975, I'm talking feet per second, 850 is 850 feet per second. You got to slow it down. You add a heavier bullet. Okay, so that heavier bullet can only be heavier because we have to keep it the same diameter. It's a 9mm. We can't change that. Is by adding length. It didn't like that additional length, or at least how it tapers off later than your traditional bullet, and it would get stuck there. So you can't, you know, I'm not going with that range dynamic, you know, 850 feet per second stuff in this barrel. It doesn't like it. Different barrel, does it act differently? Could be. But man, you'll notice, I mean, ate that 975 stuff up, shot it back out. It is absolutely, and I know I say this a lot about a lot of firearms, but this is one of my favorite firearms to shoot. I'm telling you, it was my introduction into handguns from CZ, and I absolutely am impressed. Okay. I'm certainly impressed. So, I mean, I couldn't recommend this firearm more. I wanted to show y'all something. I don't have it. Anyway, it was a great day at the range. It was a long day. Please like, share, subscribe. Y'all, we got to get to 2,000 followers. And as a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. Because I love y'all, man. And y'all like, I don't know about the shares, but y'all definitely comment. We have good conversation going. I appreciate the community we're building. I appreciate those questions. Sometimes I don't even know the answer. I've contacted manufacturers on behalf of a couple of subscribers and people who comment, man. So I love talking 2A stuff, firearm stuff. So you got a question, maybe it's something you don't feel like looking up, just ask me. I'll do the work for you. Okay, I got something. So this is years and years ago, right? This is when we used to wear baggy clothes. I'm in a club. This chick was like, dang, you were fine until you put your hands on your hip. Basically saying I was a real skinny dude. Skinny just like this firearm. In fact, I think I'll name it KD. So the first person to comment KD down in the comments, put your Cash App. I'm going to Cash App you $20 just because, man. As always, I appreciate your time. Like, share, subscribe. To the next one. How you like that logo? Hey.